Welcome to Living on the B-Side, where music and stories come together to inspire and transform. I'm your host Birgit, and in every episode we explore the universal language of music, how it shapes our lives, connects us, and tells the stories that define us. Through heartfelt conversations and powerful melodies, we uncover the magic that makes music so much more than just sound. Right, B-Siders, welcome to a brand new episode. Thanks for joining us on the B-Side today. And when I say us, I mean obviously myself, as you by now know. But then I've got my guest here, Robbie. Hello, welcome.
Hello, I'm Robbie Gennet, Los Angeles, California. Nice to see you. We're across the world, but right here. I love that.
Yes, that's the beauty of the internet these days.
Yep.
We can just chat to each other, from down under and then right across halfway around the world. So
Yeah.
amazing.
You're more across than down, though. We don't look down on Down Under.
Oh, okay. Yeah, fair enough. But I mean, yeah, let's not get
Yeah.
into that. Right. You see,
So,
it's going to be a fun conversation. I can already tell by, a little bit of banter that we had there. But I guess one of the reasons why I was intrigued and wanted to have Robbie on the show was his backstory, as you probably know me by now, if you've been tuning in for a little while. And if not, it's going to be all about how music kind of shapes our lives. And obviously with Robbie, because he's a musician amongst many other things, how that shapes his audience through his music. So it's going to be a very interesting conversation. I can feel it. And I really would love to start by something that's, I would say, not so great, but obviously inspired you moving forward. And that was when you've lost your home through a
yes.
fire, and how
Yes.
I would really love to start there, because I think that kind of seemed to have sparked a particular creativity in you and what you're doing right now. So please share with
Yeah.
us what happened and where that led to.
Okay. Well, there was a fire called the Woolsey fire that swept through the area and just decimated everything in its wake. The wind would shift, and those homes were spared, and these ones weren't. So when we evacuated, it was clear skies, no smoke in the air. It just took a shift, and that one shift took out our house, my studio. I had evacuated with a car full of stuff, but certainly lost a lot of my art and memorabilia and things from my past. You'll never really know what you lost in something like that, what was in boxes and whatnot. But what that'll do to you is really put you in a position where, what is life? What are you? What do you own? What do you have? So I've long depended on stoicism to get through things and not get overly emotional. I also, way back when in studying psychology, read Elizabeth Kubler-Ross on death and dying, which she identifies the stages of grief, sadness and bargaining and anger and depression. And the last stage is acceptance. And I remember when I read that, I thought to myself, I wonder if you focus on acceptance, if that mitigates the other stages. And this was certainly the biggest example I've ever had to try that out. But the first words out of my mouth when I heard that our house had indeed burned down was, I accepted 100%, because that is where I had to start from. And
Mm-hmm.
so by starting from acceptance, everything else that I could possibly think of, it didn't need a stage to get there. I could be a little sad. I could succumb to a little bit of depression or anger, but ultimately I'd already accepted it, and that helped me to move forward. And anytime I thought of something that I had lost, I had this visual where I'd open my hand, I'd let go of the string, and I'd watch the balloon go up in the sky. So when you're a kid, that's the loss that I think hits you the most immediate, is when you lose the string and the balloon goes and you realize, and you just watch it recede into the sky.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so in doing that, look, I went through a lot of emotions. I have a family, so I had to shepherd them through it. I was on the board of my HOA at the time, so I had a kind of a front seat to the entire disaster and recovery and dealing with government agencies and the whole nine yards. So it was interesting. I threw myself into it. I was teaching at the time, so I was in quite a situation, and I had to not be overwhelmed, for the sake of my family, and also for the sake of being able to just handle things. And I think when you have it in mind that no matter how bad things are, everything is handleable in some way. Um, you just got to take care of things. So to lean on stoicism, to lean on acceptance, to lean on whatever strength I could, and also when something like that happens, all of the people that are disconnected in your life that you connect with here and there, when they all come at you in one big outpouring of love and support, it's really kind of an overwhelming
Mm,
feeling in a good way of how much love you really have and how much people really do care about you. And obviously, it shouldn't take a tragedy to feel that. And I've also, tried to go out of my way to express my gratitude and love for people who are here. So, a lot of it, making lemonade out of lemons, that's all I could do in my mind
mm,
is to move forward and rebuild. Now I'm in a house with a studio. I've created more art in the last 7 years than I probably had before. It just, I kind of made up for it. And I'll finish with this. I don't think artists have to suffer to make art, but I think when artists do suffer, they turn it into art in a really meaningful way. So sometimes when you're really
mm,
happy, you can write a song reflecting on sad times, or when you're sad, you can write a song to cheer yourself up or whatnot.
mm.
I'm just trying to take the high road. There's less traffic. you
Wow,
know?
you just said something interesting, and my mind already sort of formed a question around that. You said an
Please.
artist doesn't have to suffer to create art. Now, I'm thinking, like, from my angle, I'm not creating music or painting or anything like this. So I'm what I call I'm creative, but obviously not to that extent. Um, and some people don't call themselves creative at all, even though I think everyone has some form of creativity in them.
Yep.
But how I find that interesting because you obviously express whatever you're feeling as an artist in your painting or in your music. That's how you,
Yeah.
I don't know if this is how you process the world, how you digest it, whatever it is. For us non-creatives, let's put it that way just for a second, I'm always wonder how could we do that ourselves? How could we tap into that? Because we have to digest and process it, otherwise that can be a really sad outcome, nothing good.
Sure. Yeah.
How do you think us non-creatives could tap into that
It's a
possibly
great.
that creative bit?
That's a great question. I think, like you said, everybody's creative. A lot of people don't think of themselves as creative, but when we were all in elementary school, finger painting, I like to keep that finger painting mentality.
Okay.
So I think what keeps a lot of people from calling themselves creative or acting on their creativity is they think if I can't be good or professional, it's not worth doing. I think coloring a mandala, making something out of clay, things that are visceral, just coloring or drawing, not for the sake of making something to hang in a museum, but just to create something or picking up a hobby of something. I have a lot of people that tell me the things they always wanted to do, and the only thing stopping them was them. Usually it's their thoughts that other people told them they wouldn't be good, or other people, or the world. At some point, you need to get involved in self permission. An artist like David Bowie, to me, is one of the greatest examples of self permission. There
Mm.
was nobody that was telling him what he should or shouldn't do, and he was literally physically reinventing himself. So I think
Yes.
when you look at a guy like Bowie and you look at an artist like that, to take that into your real life, what is really stopping you? Who are you really listening to? And if it's a voice inside your head, who put it there? And why are you listening to that voice instead of a voice saying, "Come on, let's do this. You can do it." So maybe you need a
Yep.
better spirit animal, a better zeitgeist, a better somebody to follow. But I think really it comes from that feeling. Look, when you lose everything, you have nothing left to lose.
Yes. I love that.
So I lost
Hmm.
everything. So it's like, why not go for it? Why not double down? Why not try the things you always said, boy, I wish I could have, should have? Do it
Hmm.
now. Now is the time.
Yeah.
I love, I was dipping my toe in the advertising world early on. I thought I might write jingles or something like that. And I remember loving the simplicity of the Nike slogan, just do it. Because the just takes away the excuses. And I
Hmm.
think a lot of people really do go out of their way to find every excuse they can why they shouldn't. And very little time is spent trying to just say, screw it, I'm going to do
Yeah.
this. And a lot of the thought in our heads of what other people think of us, we have to reject that because
Hmm.
most people are thinking more of themselves and what people are thinking of
Hmm.
them, you know?
Yeah.
Um, so, what we feel in terms of judgment that is not an actual real thing, I think keeps us from the doing and from the processing and from the creating and from all that. So, what can somebody who's not a creative do? Create or go out and be in nature. Like they talk about forest bathing in Japan, to
Mm. Yep.
unplug, go out. Like when I paddle out, I bodyboard and I surfed all over the world. I bodyboarded in Australia, New Zealand. When I paddle
Nice.
out from shore, I'm not just paddling out to catch waves, I'm leaving the continent. All the drama, all the politics, the people, the opinions, whatever, I left. So when I come back, I'm refreshed. I've been somewhere, but I've been somewhere because I think of it
Hmm.
as somewhere. So
Mm.
I go back to self permission, and why do so many of us not feel the feeling that we can do things? Why are we just assuming that other people would think this? Or why are other people's opinions important at all to us?
Yeah.
Especially people who may not even be thinking about us, or that you wouldn't go for their advice, but you take their judgment, you know?
Ooh, such a juicy subject, isn't it? You could go really deep with
Yeah.
that stuff. But
Yeah.
I remember I did a God, that was years and years ago when like videos became really popular, and this lady was running like a 5-day challenge to get comfortable in front of a camera. And I
Right.
remember she said, at the end of the day, it all comes down to just rip the band-aid off.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you rip a band-aid off, it kind of stings and hurts for a little while, but then it stops. And I
Yeah.
always thought that's such a great way of putting it. Because at
I
the
got another one for
beginning,
you. Going
yeah,
into
go on.
cold water. If you're going to go into cold water, you have to
Oh,
jump. If you dip a
oh,
toe
good.
in and it's too cold and you're thinking about it,
Yeah, yeah,
rip the band-aid, jump in the cold water, just do it.
yeah.
And then if you for some reason feel like you're stopping, you got
Hmm.
to dig really deep and figure out why. What? Because it's me. I'm making the decision now. I got the driver's, wheel, but who am I listening to?
Mm.
Who's on my proverbial radio talking to me? Who's in the back seat talking to me? That doesn't matter.
Yeah,
So, yes, rip the band-aid. But
yeah,
for a lot of people, that's tough. But it's only tough because of what they've set up in their mind. And
yeah.
how do you free people from that? Well, glad you asked. I, a lot of the look when people write songs, they can write about anything they want. Subject matter can be 50 Cent in the club, can be some Neil Young song about a moment. It can be anything. It can be
Yep,
songs for
yep.
partying, party people in the house tonight. All good to have songs like that. In my songs,
Hmm.
and I have fun party songs and stuff. In my songs, in my lyrics, I really do put a lot of those thoughts because I feel like a song is a great medium for, I don't want to say philosophy to be too grandiose, but thought
Hmm.
and ideas. And if you can deliver those in a song, even if somebody is like, "There's no way I'll think about that," it's like a Trojan horse. You're getting past all the barriers and everything, and they're not even thinking about what they're singing. And the brain hears that, and the brain chews on that. So for me, I'm not trying to be preachy in my songs, but I do chew on a lot of things myself. I do analyze things as we all do. Why am I not doing this? Why am I doing? So putting those ideas in my songs, I feel can help people who might get that message and it might liberate them or make them feel
Hmm.
something that they can liberate themselves. I
Yeah.
love that.
And that's kind of my life as a listener. Especially at the moment, there's some things going on that are pretty I wouldn't say heavy, we all go through them in life, obviously, but it's a new
Yep.
experience that I've never been through.
Right.
And obviously I fall back onto songs that kind of help me process. They also ask me questions, so I have to dig a little bit deeper to understand, well, why am I reacting that way? Why am I
Yeah.
feeling this way? So it's for me, it's like a mirror
Yeah.
that kind of reflects back things at me that I probably should be thinking about or feel or whatever else it is. But
So
I was
what's a song that you would say helped you through a particularly hard time or made you feel like somebody else felt this? They're almost like strumming my pain with their fingers, you know?
well, there has been so many over the years, but one that I think of a lot lately, but that's been about 2, 3 years ago now, is RM of the South Korean group BTS. He had a
Yep.
solo record and he has one song called Wildflower. And it's just the music itself is it brings me to tears. And generally he talks about the struggles as an artist and like this persona and feeling numb and feeling overwhelmed and not feeling at all and then coming back. And it's just like this whole whirlwind of his life. And at
Yeah.
that moment in time, I needed to hear that because that kind of pushed me out of this numbness and back into emotions.
I love that.
And
And
that
you never know
song,
what song's going to do that, right? It might just hit you. If I would have told you,
exactly.
hey, one of the members of BTS is gonna, the same guy who sings Butter, yeah, that whole thing, yeah,
Exactly.
he's gonna touch your heartstrings, not just make you
Yeah.
dance and laugh, you know.
Yeah, but there's also like, my mum especially, she was really good. She was like opening my eyes to all sorts of music. So there'll be times where I go for a little bit of, heavy metal, or then I go for pop or rock or Europop or whatever it is.
Yeah,
Um, I went to concerts with my mum, like I saw the Rolling Stones with my mum. So it's like
yeah,
I love that there's so much different vibes we can pick, tap into.
yeah.
So if someone says, "Oh no, I just love this," I go, "Why?" I know
Yeah,
it might be a bit, but so
there's music that I personally cannot listen to, don't enjoy, don't like, and I see people by the millions listen to, and good for them if they found that
exactly.
thing. I'm not
Yeah.
going to say, oh, they're wrong. That's crap music. It's
No,
not for me, or I could
no,
analyze it, but
no.
they're there singing and feeling good and feeling like what you felt listening to the BTS got.
Exactly.
You almost can't quantify it. I
No.
think there is a certain bandwagon thing that happens with certain artists. They get to a certain size and everybody piles on, but
Yeah.
that can go both ways, people can fall off just as easily,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
quickly too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 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 yeah. I mean, how many, yeah, let's not go into the one-hit wonders who everyone thought, oh, they're gonna be around for 10 years and next thing they're
I,
gone. It's
I'd
it's it's
rather
sad.
have one hit than no hits,
Yeah,
but I'd
well,
also look. It's tricky because fame and people listening, a lot of times when people know that they have a lot of people listening, know that a lot of people are going to tune into their next thing, they get writer's block, or they're realizing everything they write is going to be dissected a million ways, and they
mm-hmm.
lose something in that. It's very
Mm.
rare to have an artist maintain a certain amount of that authenticity and integrity as their stuff becomes a product.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And there's stuff
Yeah.
that's written just to be a product, but there's also real stuff, that was written with angst and real emotions that all of a sudden became the biggest selling record and on great, packages and on the radio and stuff and in
Yeah.
commercials. And all of a sudden it's a product. Whereas there's
Mm.
other stuff that's written just to be a product, which
Mm.
a lot of stuff sounds like that to me these days, but the authentic stuff
Yeah.
always shines through.
Yeah. I had that conversation with my husband years and years ago, when things like, and no disrespect to the shows, but
Yeah.
it's just our impression, like The Voice and Idol and whatever else is there. And it was fun for the first
Yeah.
season. But I feel like that kind of, for me personally, changed the whole landscape of what came after. I don't
Well,
know.
yeah. I mean,
So,
just the idea of competing with somebody like it used to be, early on the Beatles versus the Stones.
yeah, but that
It's a
keeps
false.
happening.
It does. But then you got a guy like Bowie. Who are you going to compare him to compete?
Oh,
Nobody. You
no.
know.
How can you even do that? I mean, he was such a.
So the idea as an artist is to be unique and to not be one thing and to not just rehash the same one sound. But I think the
Mm,
more different things you try, and again, I go back to Bowie on this, that
hmm
everything that he was interested in, whether it was jungle and drum and bass in the 90s or, the sound of Philadelphia in the late 70s or going to Berlin and his, stage with Eno and all that, he kept trying things because he was interested and he was curious.
Yeah.
And to me, curiosity is the number one driver for success, not just in art, but in everything. Because if you're curious, you're going to discover, you're going to scratch into things, you're going to go farther and longer and find yourself along the way, you know?
Mm. So how do you personally, you talked about authenticity in music and art in general. How do you make sure you stay authentic to yourself and what you create?
Because I don't lie to myself and I
Oh,
trust myself and
okay.
I'm my writing, like I will never use AI to write my words because that's my thoughts. So
Mm,
I always want my ideas, like if I'm trying to think of something, if I'm writing a song and it's about an incident of something sad and I'm wrapping it into these are my thoughts, my
yeah.
philosophies, my, everything that I say. So um staying authentic has never been a problem, mostly because I've been off the radar and obscure, so I've only really written these songs for myself and
Mm,
hoping that other people like them. But Rick Rubin, whose book The Creative Act was a huge influence on me releasing all the music I did this year, um, he says you are the audience you're writing for. So if you're digging what you're
mm,
doing and you're into it, that's why if you listen to all the records that I put out this year, I did 10 albums of original music. It changes and there's different sounds and beats and stuff come. It's not just a rehash of, the same piano style or whatever. I got into synths and synth bass and doing stuff that was funkier or art rock like the Talking Heads or new wave like, Duran Duran or whatever. Just picking and pulling and coloring and, again, with that finger painting feeling. But
hmm.
my words are, you know, I honestly didn't think when I was writing and recording all these songs that I was going to release them, thinking
Okay.
maybe someday down the road I'll get into a studio and do a real record or whatnot. And then I just realized I will do the next 10, I just I want to put these out. But all of this was written for myself. And,
Wow.
I think when you do that, you stay true because you're really not thinking, oh, what are people going to think of this? You're really trying
Mm,
to put down something honest. And sometimes, honestly, you're writing a line and you come up with a rhyming word and you backfill that line, and all of a sudden you've written something you might not have set out to write, and you have to be open to all these kind of things happening. When it doesn't, when you lose the authenticity is when you start creating product or when you start thinking about chasing some trend that's going to be gone and done before you've even hit it, or when you're, trying too hard to create something. I mean, I will go on record and say I cannot listen to modern country music because it all sounds inauthentic to me. It all
okay.
sounds like product that was made for beer commercials,
Oh no.
and and
Okay.
occasionally something will peek through and I'll be like, oh, that Casey Musgrave song is kind of cool, whatever. But for the most part,
Yeah.
it's too contrived. So when you want authenticity, I mean, obviously you can go back and listen to artists that came up before auto tuning and fixing when you had to actually be correct on tape. You had to sing
Hmm.
like that, and that's authenticity that a lot of times we gravitate towards because there's something real that was captured. And so much
Mm,
music today sounds just like as processed as the food a lot of people get used to eating.
mm,
So when you want
yeah.
to go organic and get back to the garden, I mean, you can make all the beats you want, but if I play boogie woogie on the piano, that's awfully hard to fake.
Yeah.
You can't fake the funk either. So
That's why it's always interesting when you see artists or bands live. I think that's kind
yeah,
of to me the shows, how good are they at their craft.
yeah, yeah, and you can
So
fake stuff. I mean, you can put auto tuning on vocals live. You can
yeah.
have tracks running. There's a lot of ways that you can't. The tours that I've done with different people, I was never faking anything. I was hitting, everything that I had to play, I did for real.
Yeah.
But I'm hired in the times when I work with different artists, whether it's live or in the studio, because they know that I can actually play the parts. I don't have to, you know,
Yeah.
have to fake it.
Yeah.
Nor do I want to do a gig where I'm sampling everything and doing it's that's
Yeah.
not what I want to do.
Mm.
Um, I you look at a guy like Lenny Kravitz. he's a guy that some people early on were like, oh, he's doing Curtis Mayfield, or oh, he's derivative of this or that. But people are going to forget Curtis Mayfield without us, you know, giving him a
Mm.
little bit of an homage. But Lenny's gone on to create his own style, and he is his own dude and his own music. And the stuff he creates, he's kind of made his style, you know. And when you
Mm.
hear a Lenny Kravitz record, you kind of have a good idea. It's not going to shock you. Or you'll be like,
No,
what
you
the
know it's
heck?
Lenny. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but he's moved around in his styles and gotten lots of different cool things in his lyrics and his whatnot. I just there's something very authentic about Lenny, and then you go see him
Hmm.
in concert, and there's
Yeah.
no doubt that dude is 100% for real,
Yeah. Yeah.
and we do love that, right?
Yes, of course. Yeah. I'm sort of just pondering who did I saw live in my lifetime, and yeah, it's interesting. Obviously for various reasons. I've not been to too many concerts lately, so
It
I don't
happens.
know. But then again, that also has to do with location, because Australia
Yep,
is not obviously a country that's easy to access and cheap to access. So there's a whole nother story
right.
around that too. So
One of my favorite modern artists from Australia, John Butler Trio. Um,
yes.
love John Butler, and there's a guy who is as authentic as can be. All everything he plays, everything he does. There's no doubt watching that guy that it's 100% real deal, playing, singing, everything about him. And so I think
Mm,
there's always going to be artists like that that
mm,
pick up instruments, and it's like conjuring magic. I've become such a rare bird in the way that I play piano because people just simply stop playing piano. You know, there's a lot of keyboard players, but I had
yeah.
a thing in LA here for a long time. It was called the Valley Ragtime Stomp, where it was all music pre-50s.
Oh wow.
So standards, show tunes, blues, rags, boogie woogie, anything like that. I could never get it. It was so rare to get another keyboard or piano player to come. They were like too intimidated by it. Like it's not like a cutting contest. It's just come play an acoustic piano. Um,
Really?
yeah, I'm happy to play with everybody, and I'm not out
Wow.
to. I like I'm talking about. I play for me, and I play
Mm,
for the person I was yesterday. That's the only person that I want to be better than. That's it.
wow.
There's no. I'm never going to be Elton John. I'm never going to be Art Tatum. Nor do I want to be. And
Uh-huh.
they can't be me.
Yeah.
But I take my inspiration for sure.
Yeah.
And then, if you're
Hmm.
somebody that plays in a way that nobody can copy what you do, that's kind of interesting too. Like it's hard to go
Bowie.
out and
Going back to him. I mean, who has ever done anything like him since he did it? I
no,
mean,
nobody.
and it's I don't know about you, but I find it so cool when I think back to when I was growing up and I was like Bowie was going through his, I mean, obviously in the 70s, I was too young
Yeah,
still, but then sort of 80s, 90s, just to see him changing, it was just,
yeah. Or
and I
or just
wasn't a
cut.
huge Bowie fan back then, but because he was just always there doing his thing.
Yeah.
It was sort of like, oh, there he is again.
But if you knew him, if you came into Bowie on Let's Dance, which a lot of people, if you grew up in the '80s, Let's Dance, all of a sudden you knew he was somebody, but you
Yeah.
might not have at that point even known about Ziggy Stardust or even known about the Thin White Duke. And then all
Mm,
of a sudden you're like, whoa, wait, that's the
yeah.
same. And you realize, wow,
Yeah.
not every artist has to just be one thing,
I
you
thank
know?
my best friend for introducing me to Bowie. She was always a bit more sort of into the classic kind of rock and everything, and I was more like,
Yeah,
I admit I was more the Bon Jovi type of girl, the sort of the
that's all
hair
right.
and the glamour and all
You,
that. But no, she was like, listen to Led Zeppelin, let's listen to Bowie. Oh, he's really cool. I'm like, yeah, all right. So,
But as you know, the real good music, it will do the trick if it is allowed to. So a lot
yeah,
of kids nowadays, they don't know the Beatles because their parents aren't playing the Beatles at home. It's not necessarily as ubiquitous anymore. But
yeah,
if you hear the songs,
yeah,
they will catch you.
yeah.
I play music for kids all the time, and the stuff that captures them, you never know what it's going to be, but it
Hmm.
works. The good stuff always works. They just got to hear it, you know?
That's why I find it funny. I don't necessarily go and look for it, but sometimes they pop up on like my YouTube feed or whatever, in
Yeah.
those reactor videos, and I see a lot of
Yes.
younger humans reacting to things like we just talked about, like Bowie or
Yeah.
Led Zeppelin, and I'm just sitting there and I giggle. I think it's so, in a way, I find it funny, but then fascinating at the same time. And then, oh my
Yes,
God, I didn't even know this existed. This is so cool. How did he do that? And look,
right.
and I'm like, boy, did I
Yeah.
grow up in the right time. You
Yeah,
know?
but it just, 50 years from now, there'll be people
Yeah.
discovering Bowie and it'll seem just as cool and alien and weird and
Yeah.
catchy and, you know,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
sometimes people are ahead of their time and people aren't ready for them, you know. In the case
Yeah.
of Bowie, he was just like, all right, you like that? How about this? Okay, you like that? Well, I'm going to do this, and
Yeah.
he knew that he would lose some fans, but the ones that he kept were going to be with him forever, you know.
And obviously he did it for himself, like you mentioned a lot of
That's it.
times,
That's
because he
the
was
key. That's why his
curious.
stuff resonates because that was
Yeah.
him being curious and fun and just going, what if this and what about this groove and what about if I, play with this beat and get with this produced, just that's
Yeah.
what it takes. McCartney is still a guy that is curious and having fun. If you listen to McCartney 3, which he made all himself in the studio, just still sounds like a guy having the same kind of fun that he had when he was, went solo from the Beatles. Like, all right, I got
Wow.
this tape player. Let me make some. Play guitar, put a little bass on it, and then voila,
Yeah.
there's music. And
There's
it's not
music.
like he's trying to make the next Yesterday or anything like that. He's just like having fun and being
Yeah.
inspired. I love that.
That kind of brings me to another thing that you do. You're teaching a lot, aren't you?
I have, but right now I'm not teaching at
Oh, you're
all.
not. Okay, fair enough. But when you
But
were,
yes, I had taught
when
for years.
taught for years, and how, the teaching itself, did that help you with being a creator? And what sort of stood out for you when you
Huge.
were teaching
I'll
with,
try to encapsulate this in the best way that I can.
okay, please.
When you are a musician
Yeah,
or an artist, you're always a student. So when
right.
it's time for you to teach, the people you're teaching, you're actually learning from because you're having to explain things that you just kind of understood, but now you're having to use words. And
Mm,
so sometimes the way that people come back at you, or the way that they respond to things, or the way that they click and get it, or need more, that kind of helps you. But my whole journey has been self-education. I don't have a formal degree in music. I took basic home lessons off and on between 6 and 14, and then everything else I've done has been self-discovery, um, until I got to teaching at Musicians Institute, which I taught at for 7 or 8 years, and I had to take continuing education requirements. So before I could never score for strings and horns, so I took courses in that. I took a class in Afro-Cuban drumming. I did
wow.
things that I wanted to expand myself, as a student, but also things that I could then weave into what I'm teaching. But as I was teaching, my approach to understanding music, which I wrapped up in a book that I put out called The Key of One, which is on Alfred Publishing. It's how to understand music without notation.
Mm,
Not saying
okay.
notation's bad or unnecessary, but without it, here's what music is about. Let's have a conversation. And a lot of people were very offended by that, but I still think that it's the biggest necessity in music education. But as I taught and kept having to explain things, I started to understand better things that I already understood, but I was putting it in ways, I was drawing diagrams. So as I was teaching, I was helping myself to develop my complete understanding of what music is. And the biggest problem that I found with music in education is what people think music is versus what it actually is. People
Mm.
think it's this high level wizardry, alchemy, that you have to be a Hogwarts wizard in the tower with the big books on the library shelves. And it really is like a handful of beans. And it's a cognitive disconnect for a lot of people. But it's always what I've been up against is people think music is too difficult, or they think that if they're not good at sheet music that they cannot play music. And I've had so many people, older, 60s, 70s, 80s, always wanted to play. Took lessons, but they told me I was no good at it. And it pains me because you can just sit at a piano and be musical. You could just pick up a guitar and be musical and make sounds and be happy. And you don't have
Mm-hmm.
to be professional. You don't have to play everything. You don't have to play the fastest, be the best, play the most complicated stuff. You could just do your Jack Johnson thing and hang out, or play a
Yeah.
little thing on piano, or so I teach people a lot, how to get into being creative on the piano. Music is a language. Would you agree?
Oh, well, yes, yeah. No
So
doubt.
if we're
No
if we're going
doubt.
to teach if we're going to teach music as a language, then we have to think about how we start with the spoken language that we use. First words you said, mama or dada or whatever, and
Hmm.
then everything else that you heard, you built vocabulary both by reading and by hearing people talk,
Yeah.
movies, television, people around you, built sentences, phrases, colloquialism, slang, all of it. But the act of speaking, which we've been doing here very nicely, is improvisatory.
Hmm.
Nobody's pulling out a script. How are you? Well, how was your day?
Yeah,
So all
exactly.
of the vocabulary that you learn, all the ideas that you have, all of the things swirling around, when you speak, you're improvising. And yet in music, the first thing they do is pull out the sheet music, which is a phonetic way of playing music. There's no understanding, there's no ideas, and there's no improv. So we are not teaching music as a language.
Hmm.
And to me, that's one of the things that I've always been up against as an educator. And I'm not teaching right now because I honestly don't have any students that I want to teach. Because the only students that I would want to teach now are people who are absolutely, they cannot keep away from it. When
Hmm.
any parent comes up, my kid wants to play and wants to take lessons. I say, can you keep them away from the instrument?
Hmm.
Do they fall asleep with their guitar? Are they on the drums, the piano, till you're like, it's too late, stop.
Shut up.
Ask my mom right now. She'd tell you that's how I grew
Yeah.
up, and that's why I'm still with it. So any kid, teenager, if they cannot stay away from the instrument, they're going to be a lifer. And that's I
Mm.
love teaching. I love to share ideas. I'd much rather teach people who are already far along and want to get to that next level of better
Hmm.
songwriting, better understanding of chords, better understanding of patterns and methods. Yeah, I love that. And I love music history, which is a lot of what I taught when I taught at charter school, elementary school. Um, I would teach artists, but I would teach their relevance in their time. I would teach from when they were a kid. So somebody's 6 years old, and I teach Louis Armstrong at 5 or 6, and then lead you into his life. By the time we're at What a Wonderful World, you know this guy. So he's not just
Mm.
this old man singing. He was the young guy that did this and this and this and had the hot five and the hot seven. Or Bob Marley, I taught him reggae. If I'm going to teach Bob Marley, I could start with Bob Marley, but I started at the first original inhabitants of Jamaica and English colonialism and the ghettos of Kingston. And then I brought a picture of Bob Marley as a kid and showed them who he became. So you
I love
you
that.
tie them into who somebody is, then it's not just music, it's that person singing and their life and their story. And that's where you get people more
Yeah.
curious and interested. That was my whole job as a teacher, is how can I make you more curious? That's
Oh,
it.
I love that approach though. I really
It's
do.
everything. You're either going
Because
to play an
yeah,
instrument or you're not. And if you're not going to play an instrument, I want you more into music in general. And if you are going to
yeah.
play an instrument, I want you to be the most curious, never leave it alone, picking up other things. What can I do? Where can I go? What can I see? What can I hear? So,
But that's I know my hubby and I we love documentaries because we love to learn new things and then be reminded of things we probably forgot. And like documentaries about any like artist or creative person is just it's so interesting. Like
yeah,
because you're not just picking up about that person creating the music, but also what made them, what shaped them, what was
right.
society's input in it. And then that for me is it also educates you about that time frame and what happened and reminds you
100%.
of what to do, what not to do as a person. Like,
Right.
you know, so what you do with the kids, I love that. Absolutely do.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I would do that more if I could, but right now I'm so focused on my art,
Yeah.
what I'm doing with it, and
Yeah.
ultimately I want my music, my songs, and my lyrics to reach as many people as possible, and
Yeah.
you know, entertain people, make them think a little bit, make them smile,
Yeah. So
make them say, "How
you're
do you play that?"
yeah, that'd be probably a question I would ask all the time because I haven't played an instrument since I was probably in my teens. So there you go.
Ah,
Um, what you just mentioned your albums, and how many was it? 10, did you say from memory? 10.
10.
Yes,
Yep.
10. Any more?
Oh
Any more
yeah.
coming? How many
Well,
more?
so for years I've written music and recorded it, whether I considered it a demo or a home recording or whatever. I come from a time where I you think you have to go into a studio and record officially with a producer,
Hmm.
and now we're in an era where you can, and it's a cool thing to do. It takes a special producer. A lot of producers want to get you their version of your sound, not a higher quality version of what you want your sound to be like.
Okay.
It's tricky, and you don't know till you're done if you got that. And you listen back and you're like, man, that's cool. But so there's a long gestating project I started the year that my house burned down in November. That spring, I started this project that is going to come out next year of orchestrated, I call it rock music. We'll call it orchestrated rock music. If you like
Okay.
ELO and stuff like that,
Right.
and it's it's been like so long that I've been working on this. It's really exciting actually to have it come out. These 10
Hmm.
records that I just released were written and recorded after these, while I went through the rebuild from the fire, while I went through the pandemic lockdown, while I went through, all the things. And the studio had to move, and my producer, like it's been a journey. So
Hmm.
that's going to come out next year, but in hopefully January, I just signed a publishing deal for an illustrated book of lyrics for all of that music for next year before the music's come out. So it's coupled with this great artist named Scott Olson, who I've long loved and wanted to work with. And it's this really amazing illustrated book of lyrics for songs that nobody's heard yet. And so, what my goal is, and I don't think anybody's ever done this, to have people sit with these words and then next summer bring these albums out one at a time and bring the music to life. And so it's super
Oh.
exciting for me to have that, because I do want people to focus on my lyrics and just read into them and not be singing along, just to look at it as like poetry. And
Oh
then
my
as each
God.
song hits, all of a sudden, then now you're singing it. So there's
Hmm.
that. I have a lot of music that I've recorded in the studio and never had the wherewithal to put out that I might just release after all. And I've been writing my whole life, and
Wow.
a lot of times I've been in just a situation, whether it's not having the financial wherewithal to go and record in the studio or whatever, where I just kept recording, kept writing, kept documenting. I've over 800 songs in my catalog, and
Cool.
now a lot of them have been heard because I've released all this music, and next year more music. And I also have a two-act musical that I wrote, which I'd love to put on someday. So it's just a matter of really budget at this point to be able to do these things and
Yeah.
bring them out, because nobody's going to hear it on your hard drive.
Yeah.
That's Rick Rubin right there.
Wow.
Nobody will hear it on your hard drive. Release it, and once it's out, get the next thing out. I have music videos. I've done these shows live in the studio from songs from these records that I just put out.
Hmm.
I've done two shows already. I'll have two more out in the new year, and that's exciting for me because, again, one, it's all live.
Hmm.
We're all in the same studio. Everything's bleeding in, so you're not going to fix a piano mistake. You know what I
Yep.
mean? So you can be
Yeah.
assured that I'm sitting there playing that piano live and it's not auto tuned or whatever.
Hmm.
But I also, if I was to go play a club, there's no club with a grand piano tuned and well recorded that I can go and do that. I wanted to do this in the studio so I could represent at the level the music required, and at the level that I hear and see this and want to do it. It was the best way for me to do it. I'm actually about to start releasing the single songs from my second show on my socials. So if you find me on Instagram and whatnot, I'll probably put out one a week. And then um, in the new year, there'll be some more shows coming. So I'm excited to do it this way because it's a great document, and it also helps people to actually see me perform and see what I do
Oh,
wherever
I
you
think I
are.
need to go and lie down after just hearing what you're about to do.
I have no shortage of ambition.
You need the energy
So
too for that. Oh my neck.
I'll tell you, it's again, I'm compelled beyond.
Yeah.
It's just a compulsion beyond everything, and I
Hmm.
really, that Rick Rubin book. Anybody who's an artist out there, you must read that book. It's it's about being creative and about why are you thinking too hard about it? Why are you thinking and listening to other
Hmm.
people? Just put the music out and write more and level up. And you know, I love music. I love
Yeah.
to play. I love to write, and I'm excited to have my work finally out there that people can access it
Yeah.
rather than sitting on my
Amazing.
hard drive or
Amazing.
burned in a fire.
Oh God,
So,
yeah. Well, it's
you
it's
know,
it's actually an amazing message, not just to artists, but to everyone breathing right now, isn't it? Just, just do it and just don't let
yeah.
those little, I call them the little sort of angels and demons on your shoulder,
Oh yeah.
those little voices, don't let them
See, for
interfere
me,
too
my
much with.
angel's like, do it. And my devil's like, yeah, do it. I'm like, all right, we're
Oh
all
yeah,
in.
you got a really good squad like so, on your shoulder
Yeah,
there. Awesome.
they're both in agreement that I should do this.
Best buddies. All right.
I mean, what's the worst thing that can happen? Nothing. There's nothing, the worst thing that can happen is I can finally
Yeah.
move on to the next thing knowing that, I've released stuff. It feels so good to have music out, to
Yeah.
have things out there in the world for people to hear, and like connecting with you or different
Yeah.
people. It's been amazing at where that's led me from there. So, yeah, just do
Amazing.
it. Thank you,
Just
Nike.
do it. Thank you, Nike. Special.
Little did they know the
Little did they
ultimate
know.
motivation. It's just that word, just
Yeah.
no excuses, you
Yeah.
know? So I
Amazing.
love it though.
Yeah. I was about to ask you if you have any last words, but I think you already did.
I mean,
Unless there's
I
anything
can,
else that sort of just pops in, just do it, I
well,
guess.
I will say, because I assume there will be people in Australia listening.
Yeah.
I want people down there to know that bodyboarding is the greatest underground sport ever, and all of my bodyboarders down in Australia representing. Love to come back down there and ride with you again. And if all goes well, I will definitely make it down. But yeah, the ocean is my peace, my solace, my connectivity,
Hmm.
and my health, everything. So I love
Yeah.
getting back out in the ocean whenever I can. But I really enjoyed being in the ocean in Australia. That was a trip.
Yeah.
So to all my bodyboarding friends, I just wanted to say hi.
Special mention.
Yeah. Hey,
Special mention.
that's
Why not?
always
Just do
always
it.
representing.
Oh my God. I
But
think we probably could have talked for another hour, and there's so much probably to cover still. I don't know. Part two
true.
might be
But thank.
coming. Who the hell knows?
Hey, well, maybe we can do another visit someday in the future. I'd love to catch up
Yes,
again.
that would be awesome just
But
to see how the year went for you, and after another 10
yeah.
albums and another few live shows, and hopefully
Oh,
you
there's
find a
a
piano
lot.
player that actually plays the piano.
I guarantee you there's a lot of good stuff coming, and not all of it will be expected. So I like some
Yes.
surprises up my sleeve.
Ooh,
So, but thank you
well,
for the opportunity to talk and to share and to connect. I really
yeah.
appreciate it.
Oh, thank you for coming on. It's been a pleasure. I
Yeah,
enjoyed the energy, just kind of what I needed today as well. So thank you.
good. Well, cheers to you, and we'll keep in touch, and I'll see you someday soon. Thanks to everybody tuning in and listening in.
Yes, thank you. And yeah, nicely said. That leads me to you, B-siders. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this conversation. As always, if you have anything you want to say or share, please do so. You know where to find us. Other
Yeah.
than that, I'll keep it sweet and short and tell you, as I always say, sending you much music and love. Until next time. Take care, everybody. Bye for now. Bye
Bye.
bye.